Hey everybody, so today we are on day 3 of the comeback, and we're also going to be looking at Acts chapter 8 verses like 25 through 40. And so in today's devotion plan, it was titled Paradise in a Garbage Dump, or in a garbage dump, because of the fact that it looks at the story of where Jesus is hanging on the cross with the thieves. And for a little known fact about the place where Jesus hung, he was hung on a hill called Golgotha, and apparently Golgotha was a waste dump. It was where they took the trash, their sewage, whatever. And whenever the people that they're hanging on the cross would die, oftentimes they take down the body and just toss them to the side, let the birds take care of the rest. Right there on Golgotha. And so the place where Jesus died was technically a garbage dump. And it really looks into the point. It goes into of how. But on that day, that garbage dump became more than just a garbage dump. On that day, paradise was met at a garbage dump, and it really kind of shows that how sometimes we feel like our lives is a big garbage dump, and sometimes we feel like we ourselves are in a huge garbage dump because we got so much junk that weighs us down. We've got so much stuff that is going on in our lives, and we don't know how we're going to handle it. And the beautiful thing about that is that it's even in those moments when we feel like the world is weighing us down and we feel like we got so much junk in our lives. We feel like we feel like a garbage dump. But it's in those moments that we can have paradise. Because we have Jesus with us, and that's the beautiful thing about it is that even in those moments where we feel like we're at our ropes and God is still not done with us. He is writing a comeback story for us. He is writing a beautiful comeback story, and it's going to be on that day, that a garbage dump and a paradise are going to meet face to face. And like I said, so often our lives feel like garbage dumps because we've got so much junk going on in our lives. We've got so much stuff going on, and the world is just weighing us down, beating us down. But when we place our faith in Jesus, when we rest in Jesus, that garbage dump of our life turns into something beautiful, because you see, God is in the business of turning things that we often deem as undeemable. God is in the business of turning those things that we deem as hopeless, useless, or whatever. He's in the business of making them beautiful. So He can turn our garbage dumped lives into something very beautiful, far more beautiful than we could have ever thought or imagined possible. And then in Acts chapter 8, and at the last half of Acts chapter 8, we see the story of where Philip meets an Ethiopian, and he's on his way to somewhere, and God just says, "Hey, Philip, instead of going there, you're going to go down to Ethiopia, or you're going to go down here." And God had a far bigger plan than Philip originally thought or knew. And so he was just obedient. And it turns out he meets this Ethiopian guy going along a chariot, and he just gets the instinct, "Hey, I better catch up to this guy and see what's going on." And so he catches up to the guy, and he can hear that the Ethiopian man is citing the book of Isaiah. And Philip just straight up asks him, "Hey, do you know what you're reading?" And so it's in that moment that he has the opportunity to tell this Ethiopian man about Jesus, and we see that the Ethiopian man becomes saved and is baptized right there on the spot. He's like, "Hey, there's a body of water. I'm gonna go get baptized now." And I think it's a really cool story because it shows that, when we become available, God can use us in many ways. We just have to be available, and we have to be willing. Because, Philip could have easily said, God could have said, "Hey, I want you to go over there." And Philip would be like, "Nah, no thanks. I'm going to go over here where I'm supposed to be going." But it's whenever we become available that God uses us. And also, another really cool aspect about the story that I think that we need to learn is that we need to learn to meet people where they are, and because that's how we share their faith is not by bringing them to where we're at, but meeting them where they're at. Going alongside them, being where they're at, because in the story we see that this Ethiopian man, he's going down the road and he's reading out of the book of Isaiah, and and Philip just straight up asks him, "Do you know what you're reading?" And he doesn't try to start from the beginning. He picks up with the Ethiopian man right there from the book of Isaiah, right out of the Old Testament, right there, right exactly where he's at. And that's something that I think that's a crucial key element that we need to learn, is that if we're going to share our faith effectively, we need to meet people where they're at, not force them to go where we're at or anything like that, but meet people right where they're at, right in the middle, in the mess of their lives, right where they're at, and walk with them, because and essentially be there for them, because that's how we effectively share the gospel, is not by just blurting off a whole bunch of scriptures that we've learned throughout the years, but meeting people where they're at and walking through life with them, and taking on life step by step as it comes, whatever comes their way, being right there with them, essentially meeting them where they're at, like I said. So yeah, so I will catch y'all later. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye.